Station 2.
Perfect.
236699.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is another Ask Scanner School session. I want to thank you all for being here. Again, my name is Phil Lichtenberger. My amateur radio call sign is W2LE. And, of course, this is where I answer all of your questions. So I am looking right now, and hopefully we are online everywhere. I'm looking at my dashboard now. It looks like YouTube is online, Periscope's online, Instagram is online, but for some reason, it looks like Facebook does not want to kick over. So if you guys are over on Facebook, let me know if it's working over there or not. But if it isn't, I guess I'll have to apologize to somebody about that. We'll see who it is. Let's see, stream to. All right, hopefully it's all working over there on Facebook. But if not, we got everybody else going. Kenneth, good evening. I see you over there on Zoom as well. And again, we have over on Zoom, we got a good collection over here on Zoom. I got Chris, Jeff, Brian, Evan, Kenneth, and down at the bottom I got Jeff as well. Perfect. All right. So again, you guys over on Zoom, like I said, just leave me a chat because I have to mute you guys in order to hear what's going on. And if you're catching us over on any of the other social media channels, just leave us a chat and we will go ahead and get you in there as well. Kenneth got you over on YouTube as well. So, all right, let's do this. Let's close this out. And David got you in over on Periscope. Good to see you. So let's talk about what's going on over here this past week. While we're waiting for some questions to come funneling in. And like I said, hopefully we are on YouTube. I don't know. I can't check that right now because we are live. We had the air show here in Long Island, and it went okay. It was a practice session on Friday. And then it got rained out on Saturday and Sunday, unfortunately. So what they were able to do was to have a makeup session on Monday. So it was the very first time that the air show was actually held on Memorial Day, and it was great because it was just a complete washout. And most of the major acts came in and participated. We had the I'm trying to go off the top of my head, who was the Golden Knights parachuting team. It was there was a couple civilian acts that came in there. There was the A-10s flew by, and also the Thunderbirds closed out the show. The F-18s did not perform on Monday, and there was a couple others that did not perform as well. So again, it was very interesting. And again, this year, too, for the first time, liveairshow.tv also streamed on Saturday. And what they were able to do was they recorded some stuff from the practice session on Friday and then aired that on Saturday with some commentary, which was good. So you can actually see how windy everything was before all the rain came in. So it was pretty bad. All right. Kevin is over on Facebook, so that means I am streaming over on there on Facebook, even though my dashboard is telling me I am not. So that is that's a bonus. And let's see, little Y, I guess, is over on YouTube, and Ray's on YouTube also. Bob got you over on YouTube, and then David, no problem. So again, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the live chat, and we'll make sure we go through and answer any questions you have. This is why we're here. We're here to answer your questions. What else is going on the podcast side? Arthur got you in as well from Sacramento. Arthur, thank you for becoming a new Patreon supporter, and hopefully you're looking at us over on the Zoom session as well. If you go into the Patreon dashboard, you should have all the information to dial in over on Zoom. You can actually do that right now if you want. That's running live right now. Forgot to ask over on Zoom. You guys, I assume you guys can hear me. Nobody's complaining. So, yep, got a bunch of yeses. So we're looking good over there as well. Let's see what we got over here coming in as far as questions. Ray's asking, besides Milcom radio and radio reference, where else can I find scanner frequencies? I assume for Milcoms. One of the best ones you can actually go to is Larry Van Horn's website. And he's been writing about Milcom for decades now. And he was actually on the podcast on session 179. that was a really great episode. And what we'll do here is let me swap my screens here so we can actually look at this and give us a little bit something to look at besides just me. So let me switch to Safari. We'll transition over here. And let's look at Larry Randhorn's webpage. So we got, let's see, Larry Randhorn's webpage. And that comes right up as... you guys have seen a little bit too much now. Let's see where he's at. I want to make sure I get it right. Milcom blog. That's exactly what I'm looking for right there. So I got a little donut of death going on here on my Mac, but that's definitely where you're going to want to look. Larry's got some great publications as far as anything that's going on with the Mil Air, with military themselves, and he's just got a great blog, and also, I don't know why it's just taking forever, but here we go. So all of these links up here, Ray, these are all clickable, and you can go through a whole bunch of stuff that you can want to look at. And again, he's got great publications. You can go right on Amazon, get a Kindle version. Sometimes the Kindle versions are free, and his whole family is really involved in the scanner radio hobby as well as DXing and stuff like that. So he has got quite an extensive webpage here, and also does a lot of writing for used to be for MT, for Modern Times, and now with the Spectrum Monitor, he's involved with that as well. So, Ray, that's definitely one of the websites you want to look at as well. JJ got you in as well. Hello. So good to see you in as well. There's a couple of good Facebook groups out there as well. I'm not going to bring up Facebook now. I don't want to crash anything on my end. Seems like Safari wanted to get a slow go on this one too. But something else you may look at also here too is the wiki over here at Radio Reference. And again, if you go into the wiki, you've got some military monitoring, and again, you've got some good topics and subtopics in here, and this will lead you down quite a couple of rabbit holes and everything else like that. All right, Dale got you in from Belixi. Good to see you in as well, Dale. All right. A little light on the questions this week, I guess, because it's unexpected. I know it's one of these weeks where it's the first Tuesday of the month, but it's the first day of the month following a holiday as well. So it's a little crazy over here. I was kind of, not really expecting to do this tonight as well until I was reminded that it's actually the first Tuesday of the month. All right. So what else do we got going on here? Let me go ahead over here and switch displays as well and transition over. All right. So we also have coming on over here is we are still working on, while I'm waiting for questions to funnel in, we are still working on the advanced software-defined radio course. So that is still a work in progress. I actually have 2 modules that came back from the editor this past weekend that has several lessons in it. So we'll be publishing those most likely later this week. Another module will be recorded by the end of the week. So that'll be another one that's going to be ready to go for next week. So there should be quite a few lessons and modules coming to the advanced course this month. And again, for anybody who's into that as well, you can go to courses.scannerschool.com, because I'm for a free course and also our advanced course as well. We got a question that came in from Dave. Dave says, "Hey, Phil, I know who you are. All right. Suffolk's been patching in East Hampton P25, and East Hampton's been patching this Site 3 in Suffolk. And lately, Suffolk Command Band has been patched on and off to Nassau Site 4800. Have I heard anything as far as MTA patching to any of those systems or vice versa?" I haven't heard anything yet, David, about any of that happening, but it wouldn't surprise me if that does start to happen. The MTA system here is rather interesting, and I will bring it up over here on Radio Reference so we can all take a look at it as well and show you guys what we are up against here. Let me go ahead and transition over to Safari. And if we come into this MTA system, we can find out it was actually 2 separate systems. It was the Metro 25 and also the MTA. They call it the MRRS. Now, Metro 25 used to be the Metro 21 system. It was EDAX, and then somehow it got the name Metro 25 because it became P25. And it was really just based for New York State Police. That was what the whole thing was about. It was basically for the state police to use in the 5 boroughs of New York. And then you have the MTA system. And the MTA system, they kind of came together into one system. So when you look at that, you see system IDs up here. You've got two system IDs. They share the same WACN, but they have two separate system IDs. And if memory serves me correctly, the old 26D used to be part of Metro 25. Yep, here it is. System ID 26D is part of Metro 25. And then all of the 26Es are all part of the old MRSS, but they are bridged together. But again, they're still separate sites, and you got to make sure you can hear everybody that you want to listen to on them as well. But I haven't seen anything like that. But Dave, I do want to point something out to you, and we were actually waiting to see how long it would take some of you guys to notice. But if you look at Suffolk County now, and you look at the Project P25 system, we actually added a category here called patch talk groups. So this is for full-time patch groups that are going to be between Suffolk and Nassau and East Hampton and anybody else. Radio Reference is now allowing full-time patch talk groups to be added into the database. So if you know of any full-time patch groups, submit them into the database. There is a little exception when it comes to Harris systems because they can be dynamically added. But when you're looking at the Motorola stuff, where these are the ISSI links and all that stuff, definitely start submitting them, and we will start growing them into the database so that they're always there. All right, let's see. Jeff asked, did you get my question about SDR trunk and frequency control? Yes, Jeff, I did. And I actually went through it on today's podcast episode. So if I remember what my answer was, and I'm not going to be able to remember this completely off the top of my head. Let me swap over here as well. Is what makes a lot of sense is when you are running with TrunkSDR is to kind of launch your control channels in order from lowest to highest, or from middle and then low to high. Because what ends up happening is, and if I understood your question correctly, what ends up happening here is, to explain it better, you've got that 2 megahertz, right? You got from point A to point B. And you can populate your SDR with as many VFOs as your bus can handle, your USB bus can handle, as long as it's within that 2 megahertz sample. Now, again, the sample rate on the SDRs is 2.04, I believe, or 2.048. But again, you've got some cutoff, right? Things trail off to the edge, so you don't want to be on the 0.4 on either side because you're not going to be able to receive the full bandwidth of the frequency. So if you bring in all of your control channels, you can bring a lot in on a single SDR depending how compact your frequencies are. So again, let's take a look over here at Radio Reference, and we'll go through this as well. So I'm going to transition back over. And if you look at, say, this site here, I should, in theory, be able to monitor the first Princeton site and Port Jefferson if I was in a location where I could receive them both. Because, again, I've got 852.3625 and 853.3. They're a megahertz off, right? So that should be no problem. But again, if you look at 851.475, 851.125, these are close too, right? So almost in reality, you may be able to actually grab all of the 800 simulcast sites or 800 sites on this trunk system off of one SDR in TrunkSDR. The 700 system here would have to remain separate because it's just too far away. So if you look at it again here, right, all the voice channels in here as well are within, it's going to be a stretch, right? But you almost could do all of Port Jefferson on one SDR, both control channel and voice. So I'm trying to remember completely 100% what your question was, but I do remember something about having to have multiple voice channels on an SDR or multiple SDRs to do multiple voice channels. But as long as they're brought up in a logical order where you bring them in, the control channels within, I know I'm getting a little bit loopy here, but within that 2 2 megahertz, you should be able to compress as many as you can onto a single channel. And I've done it, and it works fairly well. And again, if we look at, we can bring in, say, Nassau as well, just an example, because this is where I live and what I would do. And if I look at the P25 system here as well, right, we do have, again, within the same, 800 is going to be a stretch because you're at the top end of 853. If it had to go to voice channel, it would be assigned to another SDR, to get those out of band areas. But again, if you look at, say, 700 north and south, these are all within a megahertz of each other, right? Pretty close. So again, maybe a stretch, but again, there's no way I'm bringing in, the 800 and the 500 together. So you can get quite a bit out of it. And again, TrunkSDR is smart enough too, where it'll grab the resource it needs, center on that frequency, and then kind of work all around it. So that's why the more SDRs you can throw at TrunkSDR, the better you'll be with that as well. So I know I was a little bit long-winded, and I'm trying to remember your question off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure I did a better job answering it when I had it in front of me on the podcast. Kevin's asking, I've got a Pro 651 scanner, and I don't pick up MTA police on 700. So that could be for quite a few factors there, Kevin. So let's look at, again, the MTA PD and take a look at that. So first of all, it could be because the antenna you have on there isn't made for 700. The other thing you could look at is, what are you trying to monitor? Being where you are, I know you're in Nassau County, I would only put in the Nassau system, right? Only these 5 frequencies is what you would put in. I wouldn't put anything else in. Your other option, too, is to try putting in the Metro 25 simulcast and see if you can hear any of the MTA talk groups on here. Not sure if you're going to be able to or not because of what site they're going to be dedicated to. But again, you look at the system ID, right? They're defined here, 26E, and then system ID 2660. But from Nassau County, you should have no problem at all picking up the 700 site, especially if you don't have your attenuator turned on, if you have a decent decent antenna. And again, if you look at how this was set up here in radio reference, right, the footprint on it, even though it's called the site location Nassau, they've set it up so it covers both Nassau and Suffolk counties in here. And if you look at the site license, nobody put any location in, so there's no frequencies in here to grab any information off of. So if this was working properly, again, we would actually have some frequencies in here with a map, and we'd be able to see where they are. So I guess it must be broken in radio reference. Let's try this again. Let's try this one here, and let's pick a license. There we go. So if it was working properly, right, you get the pinpoints on the map where the licenses actually are. So, Tim, the Q&As for any state. We're just talking New York now because that's where the questions happen to come into, and I use New York as a reference to explain things because that's kind of what I'm familiar with is New York. So, Tim, yeah, ask a question about any state you want, and we will certainly funnel through those questions as well. But again, if this happened to work out correctly for you, Kevin, you would be able to see the sites, but for some reason, if I look at the Zone 1 simulcast here, and I look at the frequencies, there's just nothing. There's no locations in radio reference for this. So that's that. All right, Tim, if you've got a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat there. Again, for any state or any country, actually, we're answering questions as they come in. Over on Zoom, I don't see any questions coming on Zoom either. Just see the typical peanut galleries in over there. Jim, Evan, got you in. Arthur, Jeff again, got you, and Kenneth. Very good. Kenneth, good to see you back there as well. And I got your thing is going out tomorrow on UPS. You'll get a tracking number when that ships out. And again, I want to thank you again for doing that. Let's see what else we've got going on over here. So while we're waiting for Kevin, got you in, just checking in. Kevin, I think you sent me a question on email, and I wanted to go back in through the course to see if I could follow up on it. But Kevin, I think you had a question. If you can, if you want to post that in there as well, yeah, go ahead, post it in the chat. We'll answer it here in the chat as well. Let's see. Dave is also saying, while back, some patch tour groups drove from Suffolk on the East Hampton P25, but what's in use right now is different from what was submitted. Some nice band openings lately allowing you to receive East Hampton. Yes, a lot of nice band openings lately. We could talk about that really quick too, because that is something that I wanted to grab on a podcast as well. He's vlogged 3 different talkers for East Hampton PD over the last few months. You got to watch out too. I've noticed that, Dave, with Unitrunker and TrunkSDR. Sometimes if the conditions aren't exactly right or there's a glitch on it, you'll get some random talk group IDs that show up. That's been a problem for ages. Sometimes it just shows up once and you get to log on there. You got to make sure that it's constantly coming in there as well. But let's look at this really quick too while we're waiting for more questions to come in. Tim, I got you on deck here as well. I want to go in here and I want to click on this. And where is it? I got this site. And there's one more. Whoop. Too many bookmarks. And that one. So what we can actually do, if you want to look at something really cool, and again, we're going to talk about this on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. Safari and transition. So this is what we call menolink.org. It's a really great website for showing you if there's any band openings. And what actually was happening, here we go, as we're zooming in, we're starting to see that we definitely have a little bit of openings going on here. And what we want to do is we want to actually look at the key. So where's the key? Age limit's 15 minutes. All right, maybe somebody can help me with the key here. There we go, legend. So this is the distance, right, that they're grabbing as far as reception ports. Now, this is based off of amateur radio APRS data. And what actually ends up happening is when somebody transmits, they send out a beacon, and it's geo-coordinated, right? It's got your latitude, longitude in it. Well, another station will basically receive you, and they know their latitude, longitude, and then that kind of goes into a database and gets kind of aggregated, and then this map appears, is basically the simplest way to say it. So you can see based on some of these maps where the bands are kind of opening and how far you can be expected to listen. So again, the darker the color, right, the better you'll actually, the longer the distance. So over here in Texas, I think before there was, this should be a nice little shot from central Texas all the way into Oklahoma. And then sometimes vice versa. So again, this was all open up the eastern seaboard the last couple of days, and again, we'll put a link to this over here in the chat box as well. So Ray, you got to take a look at that. The other one we're going to look at here too is this is basically DX maps, and same kind of deal. You can actually pick the band if you want on DX maps. Whereas this is VHF, this is the amateur radio band, so this would be 144.39 is the APRS frequency. Boy, it's been a long time since I've been on there. But again, you can pick all bands in here too. So if you do 144, then you can see basically what's open on here, or you can actually go up to UHF and see 450 and above. And again, you'll find out if you'll be able to pick up some distant trunk systems if anybody is reporting in here as well. But again, somebody's got to be reporting in that there's something going on. Whereas this VHF propagation map, this is pretty much automatic. It's autonomous. So that is pretty good as well. Let's see what we got in here as well, so we can answer some questions. Stop this. Perfect. All right. So we got Tim, yeah, simulcast on the 436, 536. Some of the best ways you can kind of work around simulcast is to think backwards. So when we all, learn scanning, you want the highest antenna and some gain, some low coax, and everything else. When it comes to simulcast, you don't want all that. You want basically to pick up one site. So you want to block everything else out. And in order to do that, sometimes you need to use the worst antenna you have, or to use a Yagi antenna and point it directly at a site. Unfortunately, the 536, the 436, the 325, the TRX1, TRX2, they are awful when it comes to simulcast. That's why the STS-100, the STS-200, and the unification devices are gangbusters and selling like gangbusters, rather. They are made to work with the IQ, and it helps to align the zeros and ones the proper way. The best way to describe it, too, is remember the old days where you had analog TV and you got that ghosting, right? And you're watching a football game and you saw, a mirror image but slightly out of sync. That's what happens with simulcast, basically, and the scanner can't realign everything and put things back together. And when this happens, you've got too many zeros and ones, and things can't go back together, and the scanner can't figure it out. So think backwards. No antenna, or bring the antenna in, or hit the attenuator. Move the scanner around the house a little bit. Don't use it while driving. You can drive yourself nuts with that one. So there's a couple ideas. I actually did a podcast episode on simulcast and how to work around it. It's a good resource, and that's over in the Scanner School archives, also on the YouTube channel as well in the podcast library. Kevin's saying, when is NYPD going to be encrypted? We don't know, Kevin. When it happens, it happens. A lot of people want to know that. Radio system is in place for that, but again, who knows if they're ever going to do that. I hope they won't, but who knows. James is looking for ideas for homebrew antennas for VHF low band skip other than a typical dipole or ground plane. Has anyone used a loop? That's a good question, Carmine. If anybody's used a loop, let them know how it's working out. Kevin says, that's right, Kevin. I'm sorry about this one. Lost on the DMR Connect Plus system. You've got regular DMR in your area, but not Connect Plus. And you have a lot of P25 in your area. Will it work with P25 by doing the same way? All right, so here's the deal. So in the SDR, Ultimate SDR course, the free course, we're using DSD Plus public release. And the DSD Plus public release, while it will allow you to monitor standard P25, NXDN, and DMR, it will only trunk on a DMR capacity a Connect Plus system. That's why we use Connect Plus in the example on the free course. It's all it can do. I am a Fastlane user. I spent hours pulling my hair out trying to figure out why my public release wouldn't trunk track on a P25 system until I had a moment of clarity and realized, oh yeah, this doesn't do that. So yeah, if you want to do P25 with DSD Plus Fastlane, DSD Plus, you've got to go into the Fastlane. And then you can kind of follow along with what's going on in the free course, but the advanced course is going to take you through NXDN and P25, all with DSD Plus, and even fine-tuning the audio to make it sound even better than it does now. So Kevin, yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. It's just not going to work with trunking with DSD Plus public release. Tim is saying, I keep hearing you say you have a SDS 200 and that they pick it up fine, but both a 536 and 530. No, it's not to get you to buy the higher end scanner, Tim. It's actually the way it's made. It's made and engineered to use the same way an SDR does. There's an I and a Q stream, and think about it as an up and a down, right? And that's or not an up and down, but a horizontal and a vertical, and that's how the SDRs work, and they work really well when it comes to simulcast. And the SDS 100 and 200, it's not your typical scanner. It's an IQ receiver, and it's not just trying to get people to buy that radio because of simulcast. It's the only scanner radio that works really well in simulcast. Yes, if you listen to my podcast episode on simulcast, I do have hints and tricks for you to use your 436 and 536 in the simulcast area, as long as you follow very strict guidelines. Again, set your attenuator up. Make sure you're only picking up one site. Block out all the other sites. You need to find that sweet spot in your house. Set your attenuator up. These are all things you can do to try and minimize other sites from getting into your scanner and only picking up one site. But again, it's a different game now when it comes to simulcast, right? You gotta either pay to play or get into the world of software-defined radios, or limit your exposure and only pick up really what you want to pick up. You no longer listen to you no longer want to listen to everything. You want to just listen to just something really fine. Again, don't forget that a lot of these trunk systems are built so that they have 90-something% usability from the hip. So they are built with a really deep blanket coverage on simulcast, right? And that's how they do that. So that's that. It's not just a way to get you to spend any money. All right, we are kind of running low on time here, but we'll go through a couple questions really quick. So yeah, Dave was saying that he was picking up Ocean County, New Jersey on UHF from out here. So yeah, the skip was definitely open. And yeah, Tim, you got to change the settings, and that'll help you out as well. Kent is saying he keeps hearing that Virginia State Police is going to that encryption route eventually after they upgrade STARS to Phase 2. It's always an option, Ken. It could happen. You just don't know. They can do it at any moment, unfortunately, right? And that's just the world we live in right now. Dave is saying, do we know if New York State Police will utilize their VHF since they have the MRR system? And have you heard anything about LIRR and NXDN? No, I haven't heard anything about LIRR and NXDN. I know a lot of trains are supposed to be going over to NXDN, but a lot of them are all still staying in analog as well. Tim's saying, find out if you turn off auto on the simulcast and set it as 7 as a threshold. Yeah, again, you got to tweak the settings in there, Tim, and you may find something that eventually works. Little is saying, hello from Nick from MD. I think you've done videos on vintage scanners. Do you know my Realistic Pro 2022 and Bearcat BCT7 will receive better than my Bearcat 436 and Pro 106? Less channels to scan. Good question. Why would it receive better? Is it receiving better because it's resampling and it's picking up, more channels more frequently, or is it receiving better because it's got better reception and gain? That's a good one, and I'd like to follow through on that one next month. We are running low on time here because at the bottom of the hour, I go over with my Patreon supporters over on Zoom. We have a roundtable discussion over there as well, so I want to make sure that I give them my time as well. And then Ken's saying, I heard that Class 1 freight rail will not switch to road and dispatch NXDN anytime soon. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that, it's a fighting battle to get them up to NXDN. So that's why I expect to kind of hear them for a long time to come on analog. All right. And that's that. Okay. So with that, guys, I will I'm going to say 7.3 over here on the social media channels. So for everybody who joined us over on YouTube, on Facebook, on I think we're over on Instagram right now, and also on Twitter, which is Periscope. I want to thank you all again. Again, next month we'll do this on the first Tuesday, which I think follows the 4th of July, if I'm not mistaken. So another holiday weekend over there, I guess. And for everybody who's over on Patreon, Extra Credit Club, stand by 1 second, and we'll join you over there as well. So for everybody watching, I want to say 7.3. Thank you so much again. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also the podcast. We'll catch you all again live here again next month. 7.3, everyone. Thanks again.